Welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. The late afternoon sun slanted across the bustling city as I made my way toward the upscale fitness center where my wife, Elisa, spent her Wednesday evenings. She had raved about her Pilates classes, a newfound passion that supposedly brought her a sense of rejuvenation. Intent on surprising her with dinner plans, I navigated through the dense traffic, my mind on the pleasant evening ahead. Parking was a nightmare around the gym, a sleek glass building sandwiched between trendy cafes and boutique shops. After circling the block twice, I finally found a spot a short walk away. I glanced at my watch, noting that her session should have ended 10 minutes ago. With a smile, I pictured her surprise when she saw me waiting. As I approached the entrance, I saw several people exiting, wiping sweat from their brows, the post-workout glow evident on their faces. Elisa was not among them. Thinking she might be running late, I texted her, outside the gym, "Love. Ready when you are." Minutes ticked by without a response. I called her phone, only to be greeted by her cheerful voicemail. Concern knitted my brow. It was unlike Elisa to not check her phone immediately after a workout. My initial worry for her safety gradually morphed into irritation. Why wasn't she coming out? Unable to curb my growing unease, I entered the gym. The cool air was a relief from the muggy outside. I scanned the room filled with the rhythmic sounds of machines and soft thuds of weights. My eyes searched for Elisa, but she was nowhere in the lobby or the visible workout areas. "Can I help you?" A receptionist approached me with a polite smile. "I'm looking for my wife, Elisa." She should have finished her Pilates class by now, I explained, my voice betraying a hint of frustration. "Oh, the Pilates class just got over. They might be wrapping up," she said, pointing toward the studio at the end of the hall. "You can wait here in the lobby." I thanked her but decided against waiting. As I neared the Pilates studio, the muffled sound of laughter and an indistinct conversation reached my ears. My pace quickened, driven by a mix of curiosity and an inexplicable dread. The door was slightly ajar. I pushed it open, my heart pounding in my chest. The scene before me froze me in place. Elisa was there, indeed, but not in any state I could have imagined. She was partially clothed, her legs stretched wide with an elastic band, a clear deviation from any Pilates move I knew. And there, between her legs, was her trainer, a man whose hands were unmistakably not where they should have been. His back was to me, but there was no mistaking the nature of his assistance. The laughter I'd heard was hers, tinged with a tone I recognized all too well. It was the same laugh she reserved for our most intimate moments. A surge of emotions choked me: betrayal, rage, disbelief. They hadn't seen me yet. My mind raced. Thoughts of confrontation, violence, and despair swirled through me. But as I stood there, unnoticed, a cold resolve settled over my shock. No, a scene would not suffice. This deserved something far more calculating. I quietly stepped back, the image of them burning into my memory. As I walked out, unnoticed, the seeds of revenge began to take root in my mind. I would not let this go. I would break her as she had broken me. Divorce would only be the beginning. The drive home was a blur. My hands trembled not just with the steering wheel, but with the plans beginning to form. Elisa's deception would not go unpunished. I was going to ensure she regretted this day as long as she lived. The house was silent as I returned, the ticking of the hall clock unusually loud, marking each second with a heavy thud against my consciousness. I moved through the rooms like a ghost, my mind replaying the scene at the gym over and over. The shock was fading, replaced by a cold, meticulous anger. Elisa arrived an hour later, her face flushed from her workout, or so she believed I would think. She smiled as she saw me, a smile that once warmed my heart, now nothing but a mask of deceit. "Hey, you're home early. Did you cook dinner? Her voice was light, carefree. She had no idea that I knew. I thought we'd go out tonight. How was class? I managed to keep my tone neutral, watching her closely. It was great. Really intense today. She breezed past me to the kitchen, pulling off her gym band and tossing it onto the counter. I'm just going to shower quick. As she disappeared upstairs, I pulled out my phone. There were things I needed to do, preparations to be made. First, I needed proof. No one would take my word for it over hers, Elisa, with her charm and her convincing smile. I called a private investigator, someone a business acquaintance had mentioned once. I explained the situation briefly, my words clipped and precise. I need evidence of her infidelity. Photos, videos, anything. We can handle that, the PI assured me. We'll start surveillance tomorrow. You'll have your evidence soon. With the call ended, I felt the first thread of control weaving back into my hands. Elisa returned, dressed for dinner, her demeanor still unsuspecting. So, where are we heading? She asked, looping her arm through mine. Let's try that new Italian place downtown, I suggested, the irony not lost on me. We'd been planning to go there together for weeks. Dinner was a surreal experience. Elisa chatted about her day, her friends, and plans for the weekend. I responded when necessary, all while mentally reviewing the steps ahead. Every laugh and touch from her was a bitter reminder of the betrayal, fueling my resolve. After dinner, as we walked back to the car, I decided to probe a little, to see how deep her deceit ran. Met anyone interesting at the gym lately? I asked casually, unlocking the car. She laughed, a little too quickly. Just the usual crowd. Why? Planning to join me in a class? Maybe, I said noncommittally, watching her reaction closely. Her ease was unsettling, her facade impeccable. That night, after Elisa went to bed, I sat in my home office, the darkness punctuated only by the light of my computer screen. I drafted an email to my lawyer, initiating the process for what would come after the evidence was gathered. Divorce was inevitable, but I wanted more than that. I wanted her to feel a fraction of the pain she had inflicted upon me. The next few days were a waiting game. The PI sent through updates, photos and videos that were indisputable. Elisa with her trainer, not just at the gym, but in a dimly lit bar, laughing together with an intimacy that shattered any remnants of denial I might have had. With the evidence secured, I planned my next move. Confrontation was imminent, but it would be on my terms, at a time of my choosing. Elisa's world would crumble, just as she had crumbled mine. As I laid in bed, staring at the ceiling, I couldn't help but feel that the next chapter of our lives was about to be written in the stark ink of retribution. The stage was set, the players were in place, and the curtain was about to rise on an act of revenge that would leave nothing the same. My heart pounded with a mix of dread and determination as I waited for Elisa to come home. Tonight was the night I would confront her with the truth, armed with the evidence that painted a vivid picture of her betrayal. The house was quiet, the tension thick in the air like the calm before a storm. I heard the car pull into the driveway, the engine cutting abruptly as if signifying the end of her deceitful escapades. My hands clenched involuntarily. This was it. The door opened, and she walked in, her face carrying the usual post-workout glow, unaware of the tempest she was about to walk into. "Elisa, we need to talk," I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. She looked at me, a frown forming as she sensed the gravity in my tone. "What's wrong? You look serious." I motioned for her to sit. "Please, sit down. There's something important we need to discuss." As she sat, I handed her an envelope. "I know about you and your trainer," I stated flatly, watching her reaction closely. Her eyes widened as she opened the envelope and pulled out the photographs. The color drained from her face as she flipped through them, each one a testament to her infidelity. This isn't what it looks like," she stammered, her voice trembling. "Really? Because it looks like you've been cheating on me. Tell me, Elisa, how long has this been going on?" My voice was cold, a sharp contrast to the burning anger inside. She set the photos down, covering her face with her hands. "It was a mistake," she whispered. "I didn't mean for it to happen." A mistake that continued for weeks. I challenged. "You didn't mean for it to happen, yet it did, again and again. How could you do this to us?" "I don't know. I was confused, and he was there, and—" "I'm so sorry," she sobbed, her body shaking with each word. "Sorry isn't enough, not this time." I stood up, my decision clear. "I've spoken to a lawyer. I'm filing for divorce." "No, please." She reached out to me, tears streaming down her face. "I'll do anything to fix this. Please, don't leave me." "It's too late for that, Elisa. You broke us." I stepped back, distancing myself from her touch. "You need to move out. I'll be staying at a hotel until you do." She pleaded, her words a desperate cascade, but my mind was made up. This betrayal was irrevocable. I left her there, amidst the photographs that told the story of our broken vows, and headed to the hotel. As I checked in, the weight of the confrontation began to settle. The adrenaline that had fueled me dissipated, leaving behind a hollow victory. Yes, I had stood up for myself, but at what cost? Our marriage was over, and the future was a murky path shrouded in uncertainty. Lying in the sterile hotel bed, I realized this was just the beginning. The divorce would be another battle, likely messy and painful. But I was prepared to go through it, to ensure that justice was served. This chapter of my life was closing, and I was determined to start the next on my own terms, free from deceit and betrayal. The path to healing was long, but it began with cutting off the poison that had seeped into my life. And tonight, I had taken the first, painful step. The days that followed were a blur of legal meetings and silent dinners alone. The once comforting walls of our shared home now echoed with the emptiness of betrayal. My resolve had hardened, the pain of Elisa's infidelity was sealed away, replaced by a steely determination for retribution. I spent hours plotting every step, ensuring that my revenge would not only be precise but utterly devastating. It wasn't just about the divorce anymore, it was about ensuring Elisa would regret her deceit for years to come. My lawyer had been thorough, uncovering not just evidence of her infidelity but also financial indiscretions that Elisa had kept hidden. Armed with this information, I approached her with a final meeting, one that would end everything between us. We met at a quiet cafe, a neutral ground bathed in the cold light of a gray afternoon. Elisa looked worn, her eyes hollow from sleepless nights. "Have you decided to talk now? Perhaps reconsider?" she asked, a faint hope flickering in her voice. "No, Elisa. This is not a negotiation. This is the end," I said, sliding a folder across the table to her. Inside were the divorce papers, along with the financial records my lawyer had unearthed. "What is this?" she asked, her voice trembling as she opened the folder. "Proof of your mismanagement of our finances, alongside everything else. When the court sees this, you'll be lucky to leave with anything." Her face paled as she read through the documents, her hands shaking slightly. "You can't do this to me. I made a mistake, but this is cruel." "Mistake? No, Elisa, what you did was calculated. And I am merely responding in kind," I replied, my voice cold. "I'll be ruined," she whispered. "That's the point." The conversation was short. Elisa's pleas fell on deaf ears as I detailed how every aspect of her life would be affected by the revelation of her actions. I left her in the cafe, a broken shell of the woman she once was, surrounded by the ruins of her choices. But the revenge did not stop there. Her trainer, the other traitor in this sordid tale, was next. Using the evidence of their affair, I had him blacklisted at every gym in the city. His career crumbled as quickly as my marriage had. Weeks turned into months, and the divorce was finalized. The settlement left Elisa with barely enough to start anew, far away from the life we had built together. I heard she moved out of the state, a necessary escape from the judgment and shame that her actions had incurred. I remained in the city, my business thriving with a newfound vigor fueled by the closure I had achieved. Yet, the victory was bittersweet. The house was quieter, the nights longer, and in the solitude, I often pondered the cost of such a revenge. One evening, as I reviewed some documents, a knock came at the door. I opened it to find a private investigator I had forgotten I'd hired long ago to track any further indiscretions of Elisa. He handed me an envelope, his expression somber. "Thought you should see this," he said before turning away. Inside the envelope were photographs, not of Elisa, but of me, taken over the last few months. Someone had been watching, documenting my every move. A note was clipped to the front. "Revenge begets revenge. Watch your back." Stunned, I realized that my quest for retribution had set off a chain of events that might now be targeting me. The hunter could easily become the hunted in a game where betrayal ran deep. As the night grew darker, I sat alone, contemplating the endless cycle of revenge. Had my pursuit of justice been worth it, or had I merely paved the way for my own undoing? The lines between right and wrong blurred, leaving me to wonder if in the end, we were all just traitors to each other in one way or another.